That's the recording started, Chair.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Banff and Buchan Area Committee on Tuesday, the 16th of June 2026. Please note that the public section of the meeting is being recorded and will be published online for public viewing after the meeting. If possible, could members activate their cameras to enable you to join by video, and could all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking. Please do not comment during items unless I invite you to do so. If members wish to speak on any point, please raise your hands in the Teams meeting, or if you have dialed into the meeting, you can raise your hand by pressing *5. If any member loses connections or has a technical issue during the meeting, please alert the committee officer by a separate instant message or email her. Stephen Forrest will be providing remote IT support today. I'd like to welcome Maura Stevenson, who is our monitoring solicitor today, and she's in person. It's nice to see you, Maura. And also our area manager, Angela Keith, and Emma Nicol, our area clerk. I'll ask the committee officer, or committee officer, should I say, I'll ask the committee officer to take the sediment. Emma, please.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm we've got apologies this morning from Councillor Stuart Adams. Can I ask the following councillors in absence today?
Apologies. Yes,
Councillor James Adams. Yes.
Present.
Councillor Bass.
Present.
We're getting an echo, Chair. You know that.
it's me, sorry.
Councillor Cathy.
Present.
Councillor Cox.
Present.
Councillor Billiter.
Oh, yeah.
Councillor Sutherland.
Present.
Councillor Mayor. Present. Councillor Maynard.
Good morning, President.
And Councillor Reynolds.
Good morning, I'm here.
I can confirm that we have 9 councillors in attendance today. I can also confirm that the following officers will be in attendance today: Angela Keith, Area Manager; Maura Stevenson, Senior Solicitor; Jim Martin, Senior Planner; Alan Ray, Head of Service, Communities and Wellbeing Partnership; Lorraine Butler, Head Teacher, Brackdown Primary; Sean Norman, Planner; Ken Beacon, Principal Officer, Environment and Sustainability; Jim Robertson, Landscape Services Officer; Alan Wood, Director of Environment and Infrastructure Services; Rob Simpson, Director of Business Services; Simpson Douglas, Commercial Development Manager; Maxine Booth, Quality Improvement Manager; Gail Dick, Project Officer; Hannah Russell, Housing Manager; Pam Singer, Team Leader, Property and Facilities; Jim McKay, Principal Solicitor; and myself, Emma Nicol, Area Committee Officer.
Thank you, Emma. First item in the agenda today is the declaration of members' interest. Members, please state if you have an interest to declare. And if you have, please clarify the item number and the nature of the declaration. Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Chair. I have a declaration of interest in relation to item 7. I have applied the objective test. My interest is not financial, but it is material, and I will leave the meeting for this item and take no part in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Councillor James Adams.
Thank you, Chair. It's a transparency statement in regards to item 7. I was unable to attend the site visit that was hosted. However, I do feel I have enough information and I will stay and take part in the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Cox.
Thank you. Likewise, item 7, I wasn't at the site visit, but very familiar with the setting, so we'll participate in the discussion. Item 14, I have a connection with the one of the submissions, and in light of that, I will vacate the meeting during this item. So the connection is only through Banff Castle. I have no financial interest at all, but there is a close link between the applicant being associated with Banff Castle as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. I don't see any further indications. The next item on today's agenda is the resolution on equalities. In making decisions on the attached reports, members are reminded of their legal duty under Section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation, advance equality of opportunity between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it, and foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. The protected characteristics under the legislation are age, disability, gender reassignment, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation, and marriage and civil partnership. If you do not agree with the resolution on equalities, please open your microphone and say so. Item number 2B is exempt information. Do you agree to take item 18 in private? Please open your microphones and state if you agree. Agree. If you do not agree, please state now. Item number 3 is the minute of the meeting of the 26th of May 2026. The minutes are for approval as a correct record only. If you do not agree them as a correct record, please open your microphone and state so now. Item number 4 is the list of outstanding business as at the 16th of June. Please consider and discuss the items and identify any items that are appropriate for dismissal. Angela, would you present the item, please?
Yes, good morning, committee, and good morning, Chair. So in relation to the outstanding business list, there is one item for dismissal. We had a wonderful visit to Bondi Partnership last week, where Duncan Lees gave us a very clear and solid update in relation to the Just Ask project. And there was a written information in terms of the statistical nature of their business as well provided to committee. Therefore, I recommend dismissal of this item. All other items are set out on the outstanding business list with expected dates for outstanding matters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds, do you have a question, David?
Yes, thank you. It's in relation to the item number 1 within this paper, and it's to do with the meeting that we had with the Banffshire Partnership and the sustainability of the Just Ask project. I've certainly got no intention of going into the details surrounding that meeting, which was very constructive, but I do think that, bearing in mind some of the discussion, I would recommend that this remains on our agenda, because I believe that there's significant requirements for ongoing support and discussions with the partnership in connection with the Just Ask project. And it would be remiss not that this doesn't remain on the agenda, and we should be updated after the summer recess in terms of what the current position is. As I say, I won't go into any of the detail, but I think that reflects the tone and discussions of the meeting that took place. Secondly, in relation to item number 4 on this particular item, and it's with regard to street lighting, I note that the expected date is July, which is obviously, unless it's the first few days of July, it's within recess. And I'm just wondering whether, whilst obviously it's not a meeting, it's a briefing, but bearing in mind it is a vacation period, I'm wondering whether there could be any update prior to vacation taking place. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Reynolds. I can confirm that the service did indicate that they would have the briefing available before summer recess. Apologies, we should have been more specific in relation to the date. They asked for another 2 weeks, which essentially takes us to the end of June. So I'm very hopeful that they'll have that information for the recess period. In relation to item 1 and the continuation of updates in relation to the Just Ask Bondi project, there will be regular updates coming through the local community planning partnership piece, of which obviously elected members are part of that group. So there's an option either to
retain it on here for an update, or if members are reassured that an update can follow through the community planning perspective, there will be an update coming through that forum as well. I'll leave it to members to decide.
Thank you. Members, the community planning updates come quite regularly through your ward pages, and I think it'd be appropriate for that to come through there. Yes,
No, I think I've got my hand on the switch.
okay. Okay, I'll take further questions. Kids up and later.
It's near that question, Chair. I'd just like to start off with an apology because I'm remembering now why I didn't make the meeting. Car broke down, so apologies to yourself, Chair, and to officers and to Duncan if you're watching, for not making it. But I echo Councillor Reynolds, Glenn's points on that. I'm hugely supportive of the Banff partnership because they are hugely supportive of the area and everything that they do. So really, yes, I think you could probably do both. To be honest, I do think that it is that important an issue that we should keep it on outstanding business until we get a further update. But I can't see the problem with putting it through the community planning update as well with it. So both three parallel thing, because it with the area committee and no offence to the community planning, but area committee is the area committee, and I do think it's that important that we should have it relevant in outstanding business. Thank you.
Yeah, it gives nothing with that. It is the local community planning partnership that it comes through, not the general one.
Yeah, but just,
Okay.
just both. I think we do both.
Okay, Councillor Cox.
Yeah, thank you. I've had to switch off my camera because the comms are not great. Item 2, I know there's been no change to the date from the previous meeting. It's almost a year since we had the last report. I appreciate time is now running out, but I just want to my disappointment to be recorded that we received very little economic reports. Some of the reports are so generic and Aberdeenshire wide. We need to be focused on the Banff and Buchan area with so much activity ongoing, but likewise so much increase of deprivation, social issues, which we heard a lot about at a meeting last week. I can't understand why there's this reluctance to come and discuss this. It's not a one-off. We need to have these regular updates. The whole economy dynamics have changed in such a short period of time with global affairs and a number of other issues. We need to be on top of the game and not just wait for data to come forward. Data will tell us what I'm sure everybody in this room knows, because we can see it when we walk around our communities. We want to see a plan to address some of the key points and key issues, and just want that disappointment noted. Thank you.
Chair, thank you, Councillor Cox. You may recall that I offered a solution to what I thought was your concerns in relation to economic development or attending the next Ward 1 meeting to specifically focus on the concerns that members have raised as you've set out. So it's a twofold approach. One will be a more broader update on Banff and Buchan landscape at the October meeting, and before then there'll be an opportunity for the service manager from economic development to attend a Ward 1 meeting to specifically focus on Ward 1 issues.
If I could go back, thank you and appreciate your assistance in this matter. However, it doesn't distract from anything that we need. It has to be a formal decision. But yes, I look forward to that informal discussion, but it wasn't highlighted here. But the clear message is that we're having to push for this meeting. It shouldn't be, they should be proactive and not reactive to our requests. Thank you very much, Angela, for all your support on this matter.
Thank you, Chair. Just before I bring Councillor Reynolds in, Chair, I would be most happy to commit to a briefing note to update the area committee on the Just Us project after the summer recess, accepting that that also dovetail with an update to the local community planning group at around the same time.
Thank you, Angela. Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Angela, for that, which is very helpful. And I still feel Councillor Finletter is spot on in terms of the points that he has made. And I do think that it's important that there need, and I'm being careful here because I realise that there are some aspects of this that might well be confidential and should not be within the public forum. But the work of the Banffshire Partnership, as we all know, is incredibly helpful to what goes on in terms of Banff and Buchan and elsewhere. And in like anybody that was at that meeting will be aware that there are and hopefully, you know, there'll be very constructive progress being made with regard to the sustainability of the Just Ask project. And I just feel that alongside the Community Planning Partnership, it's really important that the ongoing work and deliberations that take place where they can and when it is appropriate should come back to this particular forum in a public space that can be open and transparent, and that's reflected in the seriousness, I think, of the discussions and the challenges that take place that were referred to at the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. I've listened to the room. We will keep the item on the agenda, but I would remind councillors, please, to remember to read their local community planning group meeting minutes. Thank you. I see no further indications, therefore everything on the outstanding list will remain as is. The next item on today's agenda is item number 5, the Education and Children's Services Year-End Report. We have Alan Ray, the Head of Service for Communities and Wellbeing, here today to introduce the paper. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Committee. Thank you. I will do my best to give you the report. I've got information which I'll share as I go through, and hopefully that will cover some of the items raised as well. So if you bear with me. So the report, thank you, provides a year-end performance overview of the education and children's services in Banff and Buchan, aligned to the Council Plan 24-29 priorities. The report hasn't been considered before by this or another committee. However, the year-end performance, providing an overview of measures selected by the Head of Service Business Plans, was presented to the ECS Overarching Committee on the 21st of May 2026. Overall, performance in Banff and Buchan is mixed, broadly stable, with 60% of measures meeting or exceeding target, 40% off target, which highlighting areas for improvement. Some of the key strengths: positive attainment in numeracy at 76.9% of pupils achieving expected levels, which is above target, though slightly below the Aberdeenshire average. Very strong performance in foundation apprenticeships at 94.9%, the completion rate, reflecting significant attainment and strong partnership working. The condition and suitability of community facilities remains high at 95%, rated either category A or B within the LLA estate. And approved attendance across has increased to 91.6%, which shows a positive recovery trend. Some of the key challenges around positive destinations for school leavers, which is sitting at 93.6%, which is a decline and the second lowest across committee areas. Literacy attainment, 64.1%, achieving expected levels, both below the local and national averages, and a decline in early years take-up, specifically in the 2-year-old range, with fewer children accessing funded early learning childcare and a reduction of full entitlement uptake. There's also been a slight reduction in attendance and membership across the LLA services. Attendance for this report, however, doesn't include hires, given the change in management practice in alignment with the ECS hires team, which has been resolved now and wouldn't be a factor going forward. And we also experienced some adverse weather in January, which affected the attendance levels. There's also been a slight decrease in average membership reported. This is primarily from the library service, who measure their members as active users as opposed to card holders, and that small decline has reflected some of the constraints that the libraries had as they transitioned into different models of service provision across the area, and some of that extreme weather. Now, there is positive there as numbers have increased, and we've seen some good news stories as well, particularly in Banff and Buchan in the Banff areas. LLA paid membership has grown, specifically Devon and Fraserburgh, which is between the two of them are the top 1 and 2 highest membership sites in Aberdeenshire, with over 3,000 members between the two. Members should note within the report the data largely reflects the school session 24-25 and the reporting year 25-26, whilst there are already steps for the targeted actions, particularly in literacy improvement, senior phase pathways and destinations, and early years engagement. The clear areas of strong performance. The report also draws, however, attention to gaps which will inform the priorities of the service and the Directorate in future planning. Now, I have a couple of points of feedback, Chair, from the QIM around drop in positive destinations and literacy. Are you happy for me to proceed with that, or would you like me to take questions
Yes,
at this stage?
that was
Okay.
my question, so I'll thank you to do that.
Thank you, Chair. So the reason for the drop in positive destinations, the cohort across is roughly the same size for all academies in the area. What we can see is that is that there were substantially more leavers in S5 than in previous years for some of the academies. The overall destination stats, Banff Academy has taken a slight dip as prescribed above. So in terms of S5 leavers, affecting overall stats, and in Fraserburgh there's a smaller cohort of leavers than previous years. The slight decrease in terms of leavers also then reflects into positive destinations. We also need to take account of the leavers overall, which affects percentage ages. So in 2024, for example, the stats were 88 more leavers than in 2025. In 2024 leavers, there was 845. In 2025, there was 766, so that decrease. Overall, service is reviewing the authority-wide approach to school leavers information, as there were a higher percentage of age groups not achieving a positive destination across the piece. This has been reviewed with the deputy head teachers who've got the responsibility for this area and are finalising an improved approach from the start of August. From the review, the deputy head teachers have reported shared evidence of, so what they've found is an increased number of young people with mental health challenges, which can evidence a multi-agency approach, yet individual young people have not managed to attend school or achieve a positive destination. There's also been an increased number of pupils not giving clear information as previously on destination forms, and there's an appetite to improve that reporting. Some of the young people's forms have blank aspects, for example, and what they wish their aspirations to be. The improved policy approach to this will also ensure statistics will be more complete on forms and allowing colleagues to do more. With a secondary QIM being recruited currently, this also is going to be a lead for improved approach in this area. Finally, finally, with the last, no problem. With the last year or two, capacity has been stretched within the teams, and the updated policy has been finalised with Skills Development Scotland and the deputy head teachers as well, so that multi-agency approach. In terms of the literacy, would you like me to go? I've just finished off the literacy part of it. The works required on the modernisation on the moderation, of literacy across the authority. Education support officers are now in place, taking from the previous lead teacher role. They'll have a focus on moderation at this level, and work has been completed on second level moderation, which has also made a difference to the overall stats. So some good work going on during the year. They need to do the same at first year level now. So with literacy, writing is pulling down the statistics overall. There is a couple of good initiatives, one in particular highlighted, which is linking in with the National Children and Young People Improvement Collaborative, which is a writing project to take key messages learned from this and take forward through into 26-27. And there's been some take-up, quite considerable take-up within the Banff and Buchan area across the region. So, yeah. I'll take questions, and I'll do my best to answer, Chair.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for that update on the list of destinations. I think that's a good way forward. We really need to get our young people into meaningful employment or further education to ensure that they don't get left on the scrap heap. Okay, Councillor Reynolds.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alan. So my comments are a bit of a pushback because that's what we're here to do to some respect. I mean, we get inspection reports that come before us and we're always straight out of the traps in terms of commending and celebrating the successes that do take place and the work that the staff does in relation to many of our schools. So, but I think that there are some underlying issues in relation to the report before us. So it's in that context that I want to sort of air some questions, because I think that there are a lot of strategic success metrics, as it were, that are set out in this at a high level. But I think we all know that there's a lived reality, not least in our rural schools, with regard to attainment gaps, financial pressures in Banff and Buchan. And that's my point, Alan. And this committee has repeatedly asked for an unpacking and a digging down in terms of the detail and drivers in Banff and Buchan, because that is the area committee that we represent. So, for example, if you look at page 20 in the papers before us, it indicates that, there's some issues, not least in relation to Banff and Buchan, and you've alluded to some of that. But, it ultimately raises the question, are attendance rates and positive destinations and attainment scores holding up in Fraserburgh and Banff academies compared to the more affluent parts of Aberdeenshire? Now, that's the elephant in the room here. We know it's the elephant in the room, and we need to be, prepared to actually engage with that. We've got a big push in this paper, Alan, which I understand it's what we get in terms of qualitative analysis. But as I say, we've always requested that we want more information about what is driving negative numbers, like the figures that are set out on page 20, and what the council is actually learning from them. What is the context for the underlying drivers? Because that would be really helpful for us to know. So ultimately, a lot of that is to do with the local outcomes improvement plans and reduction of poverty. But when we talk about attainment gaps, a lot of that is obviously poverty related. Cost of living challenges, cuts to area committee budgets. Yes, improvements in free school meals in Banff and Buchan schools, but there are a number of other issues where bairns in this area are struggling sometimes to live well locally. And so I'll leave it just there. But my central point, as you'll realise, Alan, is that there's a lot of information here, which at a high level is very, very good. But when you actually dig down into the reality, not least in the rural perspective of Banff and Buchan, we need more information in terms of what is driving the gaps that take place. Thank you.
Alan, would you like to come back?
Thank you. No, I appreciate the feedback, Councillor Reynolds, and I'll be sure to take that back to the directorate team to see what we can do for future reports and some of that drilling down and understand the context that you're explaining there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutherland.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Alan. The question I've got here is just a wee bit more about the context of the local area of Banff and Buchan, because we're looking at positive destinations, but how do we quantify, or do we actually take into consideration that it doesn't matter what we do within education if the economic situation in that local area is negative and not taking up, not offering these positive destinations due to the decline in the economic area? And it's a bit following from Councillor Cox's last item that he mentioned about the economic situation. So is this taken into account? Because that you know, is there an argument that could actually be a big contributing factor to any percentage drop in the positive destination? And again, when we speak about the English literacy, what's been taken into account for people or students with second languages? Now, English is a second language. I mean, it's a fantastic situation where you have lots of children in Banff and Buchan with a second language. I mean, when they grow up and go into to work, they're going to have a great advantage. And children go on and succeed in school and go on and go into further education. But to carry a second language all the way through, I mean, when you get into the workplace, it's a fantastic tool. So great advantage long term, but in short term, how does that actually affect the literacy in these reports, and is that taken into consideration? So just two questions there, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sutherland. In terms of the first one, again, in terms of that education versus economic piece, in terms of positive destinations, I think some of that will be qualitative driven and some of it will be quantitative. And I think, as I alluded to some of the responses from the QIM in preparation for today, the definition of that positive outcome is partly driven by the learner as well. Are they ending up, are they getting what they think they need out of school and education to end up in that expected next place? So I think there's a little bit more to be done on that. In terms of that linking in with the local economy, I don't know if that means do they stay in the area or do they move, you know, and I think that kind of links into to some of your next point as well around that dual language and some of these opportunities that people have maybe outside of the education system, which then bring them through in their opportunities of outcome change. So it's certainly something that I will go and ask the question of in terms of that education versus economic outcome. The English as a second language is one again which I'll go back and feed back to Kay, but I'm also, as head of service that covers the community learning and development team, the CLD team actually work a lot with the academies and young people, but also including family learning around and individual learning and adult learning where English is the second language. So we don't teach English, but it's about working with people where English is the second language as well. So there's maybe some multi-departmental pulling together of stats to understand some of that and how that plays into literacy too. So there's some good, so I appreciate your comments, and it gives us good food for thought to go back in and see how that pulls through to a performance report, but then also maybe a wider approach, which is a little more targeted.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Finlayson.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Interesting conversation for sure. And just to a little giggle at myself, Councillor Sutherland, because English is my second language, Doric's my first. That's for sure. Or Scots language, if I get around. Positive destinations, yes, very hard to quantify. I agree with you, Councillor Sutherland, on that. But we've just got to look at the great work that Alan Horbury does at Banff Academy and the legacy that Irene Sharp left in the Broch, the Fraserburgh Academy, what they did, linking with the community and the businesses, and getting really good positive destinations. I can't remember about the Broch, but I do know it was 96% that Banff Academy did. And they've got various courses that they do, and I mentioned Scots language, they do that as a course, but also boat building, other things that are going to shine out on those CVs. But our children, our bairns are having, it's never been so more important for our education system to provide these positive destinations and education for the bairns, and indeed steerage as to what they are going to do, what their ongoing education is going to be, or whether they're going to go into an apprenticeship. You've got to look at the market, the job market right now, and it's horrendous with the decline in the oil and gas sector. It hits on fishing and in the farming industries right now. It's never been more important for the bairns to get steerage as to what they are going to do and how they're going to do it. You say stay in the area. Well, I would want the bairns to stay in this area, to have jobs in this area, or to at least come back. Like myself, I came back here, so all to your benefit, of course. But it's really important that we listen to what Alan Horbury and Irene Sharp and the new head teacher at Brock Academy is doing, and what they are doing, very innovative stuff. but they are talking to the communities and they are talking to the businesses as to what they actually want. And if you look at SCORE and Peterhead, there are excellent apprenticeship schemes there that they did in bringing the bairns on, the young folk, into the workplace. So they've got their transferable skills, because the bairns, the young folk, definitely need those transferable skills with the current situation in the work market, workplace, and indeed what qualifications they're going to need in the future. I'll wish now, Chair, but I think it's really important. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I don't see any further request to speak for Alan. Alan, if you just take those queries and questions back to your colleagues, please. And I'd just like to thank you for coming along today and presenting the report. You haven't actually been asked any specific questions about your area of expertise today, but what I would say is that the fact that both Fraserburgh and Banff sports centres are top of the league, I think that's shows that we are very happy with how your service is being run up there. So thank you very much. And if you could take those back and give our good regards to your officers, and we will see you after the recess. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. The next item on today's agenda is item number 6, which is the Education Scotland inspection report on Brackenden Primary, and we have Lorraine Butler, the head teacher from Brackenden, here today to present the report. We'd just like to take a seat. Thank you very much. You'd just like to start.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, committee. Brackenden Primary School was inspected back in March. We had the long model. The outcomes were that leadership change was satisfactory, learning, teaching and assessment was good, ensuring wellbeing, equality and inclusion was good, and raising attainment and achievement was good. From the findings, it was pointed out that the school was nurturing and it was an inclusive environment, and that the children felt valued, cared for and safe, a strong sense of belonging and sound understanding of their well-being. Children in the school are polite and well behaved and support each other and demonstrate the school values very well. They make very effective use of the outdoors, and this is enriching the school curriculum. The children are developing skills such as teamwork, resilience, problem solving through these experiences. The staff in the school are supported by the very strong community links and partnerships, and this is giving a wide range of rich opportunities. And these are helping children to engage and connect with the local community. The next steps from the inspection were that both myself and the school could strengthen the school's approaches for improvement to give more of a clear strategy on what would make the most difference. Staff continue to deliver high quality learning and give pupils more opportunities to lead their learning, and that approaches to planning, assessment and tracking of progress just develop that further also. So from the inspection, as a school and community, we were really pleased to have the outcome of the fact that we were a nurturing school. The community partnership was one of the things when I got the job as head teacher that was asked to pull the school and the community closer together. So I feel particularly pleased with that. We've embraced the next stages of development, and these are on the school improvement plan for next year. And I think it's doing things more precisely. I'm not trying to do as much. I think we were doing a lot for a small school, and it's just being a bit more strategic and a bit sharper in our what we're setting out to do. Also, our increasing school roll is going up to 3 classes next session, which I think reflects the growing confidence in the school and its future.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a really good report, and I think that's reflected in your leadership. So Thank you. It was really interesting reading. I'll now take questions from the other councillors. Councillor Finlay.
It's a question, Chair, but thanks. As I stated at the last area committee, we had Helen James from McDodd Primary along. I think it was talking about the epitome of what a head teacher should be. It's also a senior council officer in that area and representative. You've done an excellent job. And as it says in the report there, the head teacher and staff have created a nurturing, inclusive and learning environment. As a result, the children feel valued, cared for and safe. Well, speaking on behalf of the folk of Gamery Garnston, they feel, the parents, that their bairns are themselves, as the parents, feel valued and their bairns are cared for and safe. As far as Girfec is concerned, their bairns are being very well educated indeed, and we just mentioned about positive destinations. Well, primary schools form the foundations for them going into secondary education. And you know, if you, I don't know if that officer is still here, but if you look at the bairns that come from that school and how successful they are academically and the jobs that they go into, I think it's so important. A lot of people, yes, oh, it's just primary school. It's not. I'm surrounded by the sisterhood of pedagogy, so I know all about schools and inspections, etc., going around there. So really, thank you very much for what you've done. And of course, the school has always had huge support from the community and the parents. But as you've said, you've done an excellent job in bringing that community. You're part of the community. You're there the whole time. So schools must always have good captains in the wheelhouse, steering schools through the cold, calm seas and indeed the tempests, which sometimes an inspection can be, for sure. But you are most definitely a good captain, and long may you stay the head teacher of Bracadden in the Bracadden's wheelhouse. Thank you very much, Mr. Spotlight.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Passy.
Yeah, just be very brief, as Councillor Finlay has covered most of it. I'd just like to say thank you for all the work that's going on up at Bracadden, and long may the good results keep coming through.
Thank you, Councillor Passy.
Councillor Menard.
Okay, thank you. Well done. Can't say better than that. My other two young colleagues have said everything that I was going to say, so yeah, but well done. Very impressed. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
I think that was a ringing endorsement. So if you'd just like to take the committee's thanks back to your teachers and your pupils, because they are the two parts of the inspection. So thank you very much for coming along today, and I'm sure you're very keen to get back to your school.
And a shout out for Starbucks as well. That's not soon.
Okay, we are being asked to consider and provide comment to the Education Service on the report in Appendix 1. Do you think we have considered and provided comment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, Councillor Reynolds, would you like to leave the meeting, please? Okay. The next item on the agenda today is item number APP 2025, which is 1998, which is full planning permission for the alteration of a dwelling house, including the replacement of roof pan tiles with slate installation and roof light. And this is retrospective planning application at 47 Shore Street, Pennon, Aberdeenshire. We have Jim Martin, senior planner, and Sean Norman, planner, here for any questions. Members will recall at the last meeting, the item was deferred in order that a site visit would be undertaken, and this was held on Tuesday, the 9th of June 2026. We have a request to speak here today from the Sinister Hall Committee. Oh, there's not a request to speak. Oh, sorry, I saw it in the mood. Okay, right, thank you. Mr. Martin, could you introduce the item, please?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just to recap briefly on what you said there, Yes, this item, as members recall, was deferred at the last meeting to allow committee to undertake a site visit, which, as you said, Chair, took place on Tuesday of last week. And briefly to recap on the details of the application before you today again, this is retrospective full planning permission for the re-roofing of the dwelling house and installation of roof lights. The tandem retrospective listed building consent application has already been refused under delegated powers as per the scheme of governance. Members will recall the issue here is that the original pan-tiled roof has been replaced with Spanish slate, which is not traditional and differs in character from Scottish and Welsh slate. We have an objection from Built Heritage on this basis, and also because of the impact on the character of the conservation area, i.e., as Mr. Norman highlighted at the last meeting, the use of a slate of any kind here, but especially the Spanish slate, is eroding the character of the overall conservation area. Indeed, the photos later that can share to remind members of the historic significance here. The recommendation, therefore, is to refuse as contrary to local development plan policies P1, P3, HE1 and HE2, and to NPF4 policies 7, 14 and 16. I'll just run members through some slides to remind of the proposal here. Firstly, the location in Pennon itself, setting within the village, the proposed elevation details, floor plan details, and most importantly, from members' perspective, I think the photographic images showing existing property on the left-hand side of the photograph and the small extension to it, which has a new pan-tiled roof. Another photograph setting context. Close-up of the slated roof and of the rear plane of the roof. And some context photos in terms of the village itself. Applications, the property is the one highlighted by my cursor here. And again, in the center of the photograph, this is the application property concerned. And then some historic context photographs, Chair. This is the application property here. Difficult to make out what the roofing material is from that, but it does appear to be pan tiles. Another context photograph here, historic one, as members can see, from 1976, and it's quite clearly visible here that that's a pan-tiled roof. And a more recent photograph, application property here, and members can just about make out as well that that is still a pan-tiled roof in place. That concludes my presentation, Chair. You've got myself here, and also, as you're aware, Mr. Norman's available online as well to address any specific questions that members may have relating to this application. Thank you.
Okay, committee, do we have any questions for, if you could?
Try.
Okay, Councillor Findler.
We can put our hand up as well, Chair. So the 1965 picture is the one that the applicant has put in. Is that correct? Because the building was listed in 1971 with the pan tiles, but from the photograph and having a close look at the photograph myself, it looks to me that half of that is slate. I don't know what the rest of the committee can think on that. Maybe they can enlarge it on their screen, can they? I can do that, yeah. It looks like half of it is slate to me. The one that's closest to the bank head. That's my question.
Mr. Martin.
Yeah, that's I was reading that more as a statement rather than a question, Chair. But yes, from the photograph on the screen here just now, as Councillor Findler has pointed out here, it would appear that half of the roof, or a portion of the roof at least, is slated, but it's very difficult to tell, given the quality of that image, whether that is in fact slate or whether it's an alternative roofing material like corrugated asbestos sheeting, which is also historically used quite a lot in places like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutherland, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was just asking Mr. Martin if there was any evidence that there was slate on a part of that roof previously, from historic photos, but I think that might have been just covered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Finlay, you want to come back?
Yes, no, it's just on the statement that you just made yourself there, Jim. Now, historically, the applicant has said that in 1965 was slate and not asbestos. So really, I think it's important. You're saying it could be this, that, the next thing. I know it was in 1971. It was listed with a pan tile roof, but this is a photograph that we asked to come to this committee. And of course, these are two different buildings because the building has been made into one. And that one that's close to the Bankhead historically was slated. And that looks, I can't tell if it's Welsh or Scottish slate, but it looks to me like slate. And that's what I think. Obviously, that's the next part of the conversation. But, you know, I don't know if you've looked into the historical side of it as well. I think it's important as to whether it is slated or whether it is asbestos. But from what we've heard from the applicant and indeed from the folk that stay in Pennon, that it was slated and it was two different buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think there was actually a question there, Councillor Finlay. Councillor Cassie.
Yeah, just very briefly, following along on the similar theme, slated roofs. During the site visit last week, we became aware of a photograph that did show slate on the roof that is in question with this application. Given that there has already been historic listed building statements dealt with, yet we still have HE1 as one of the policies for refusal, which is the listed building policy. In that listing, does it go through into any detail as to the roof coverings at any point in time? Because we've seen evidence that there was slate on that roof prior to what we're looking at now.
Will we take in Sean Norman for that question, please?
Yes, Chair. Yes, the image obviously in 1965, if that was slate, would be, and a number of the elected members at the site meeting was interjected saying that the slate is more robust than pantiles. So it is somewhat of a misnomer that in this instance, why somebody would take off, if they were in good condition, slate and put it on pantiles. I've done some research. The pantiles that were put on were from Fordyce. They weren't from the castle. They were from a building within the castle. But I'm presuming at this the period when this photo was taken, that the building was split into three, because it was originally three buildings, and we are trying to determine whether the rear element was undertaken by one property owner, while the individual kept the pantiles on that element of the building that you now see. And I'm trying to determine whether the pantiles were completely, the building was completely pantiled when the building was purchased by one individual. But it's finally very difficult to find the history behind that.
So there's no historical records of what the roof coverings were at particular points through history, seeing as there's an appearance of wanting to put pantiles back on.
Mm-hmm. Originally, all of the buildings would have been pantiled, but when the advent of the railways, then slate became available, especially Welsh slate, and that's when all the properties, well, not all the properties, but a number of the properties were slated by the fishermen
Okay, so railway, so what, that's mid 1800s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So
so
before that, pantiles were undevelopable and cheap.
before, okay, that's fine, thank you. I've got
Okay.
no further questions, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any further indications from, for Mr. Martin and Mr. Norman. So committee, before we go on to consider this further, can I confirm that members are satisfied that they've received all the necessary information and feel able to participate in the determination of this planning application? Councillor Findler-Taft.
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Cassie.
Yep.
Okay, I will take that as that we are. We will now move on to debate the application before we consider any motions. Members, your comments and views, please. Councillor Findler-Taft.
Yeah. Having listened to the debate and listened to my ward colleague, Councillor Cassie, and his points too, I do feel that the works comply with Aberdeenshire Local Development Plan 2023 and the National Planning Framework 4. It does comply with ALDP policies, P1 layout, siting, design, P3 infill developments, HE1, NPF4 policies 1417, so sorry, 14716. I think that the slated roof does fit in with the conservation area of Pennon.
Thank you, Councillor Findler-Taft. Councillor Cassie.
Yeah, looking into there was the site visit last week that was very helpful to show us the very few buildings that there are in Pennon that have pantiles on the roof. We also have photographic evidence we're looking at now, where the vast majority of the buildings are slated. Policy HE1 is that will resist development that would have an adverse impact on character, integrity or setting of listed buildings. I would say the works that have been carried out have had a positive impact on the surrounding buildings and the conservation area. HE2 will resist development that would fail to preserve or enhance the character or appearance of a conservation area. Again, the siting of pantiles on the roof there to add an extra one would be an anomaly in itself in the village because there are so few of them. It appears to be a retrograde step to try and rebuild what was there before the mid 1800s. In relation to policy P1, there has been, according to the report, there's been no issues raised in terms of impact on neighbouring residential amenity. The design and materials actually that are in place at this moment in time actually complement the neighbouring properties. So I would say that it does comply with P1 of the ALDP and National Planning Framework for Policy 14. I am, without mentioning emotion, having heard everything, seen everything, taken part in the site visit, I firmly believe that this application does comply with all of the policies, as opposed to that being obviously looking at it subjectively, as has been put down before us. And as such, I would happily move a motion when we get to that point, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassie. Councillor Sutherland, please.
Yes, my views very similar to Councillor Cassie's. The site visit, when we looked at the village, the new roof would, if anything, enhanced the look of the village. It didn't take away anything, in my opinion, from the view. As you walked along the street, it wouldn't be noticeable other than the fact that it was maybe slightly newer. But from the photographs that we'd previously had, it looked like there was a bit of a shine on the tiles. But you could see gulls nesting in the roofs nearby, and that shine was going to disappear very soon if from new. So Yeah, it looked very much in keeping and fitting for the village, and it seems like you know, taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut kind of thing, to go and ask this to be changed back to band tiles, because it's in keeping, it fits, and it doesn't look out of place in my point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillor Sutherland. I'll take councillor Bell first, because councillor Finlay was already spoken. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair. And is it on? Can you hear me? I just want to support what Robert said. The site visit was very useful, and I didn't see that it's ruined the village at all. So I just support what Robert said. Thank you.
Thank you. I will do the same for councillor Maynard.
Yes, very eloquently put by councillor Ross there. I have exactly the same feelings as him, and I agree with him on his statements there 100%. I think it does comply with everything that he said, and what the village needs, and to move the place forward and make it more habitable and fit for the 21st century. Yes, I'm happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's councillor James Adams.
Thank you, Chair. Just to associate myself with the comments made by councillor Cassie and Finlay. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to councillor Finlay.
No, thanks, Chair. In reading the room, I do think that the Banff and Buchan Area Committee is supportive of the views of the Ward 2 colleagues. I will make way for Councillor Cassie to put the motion forward. I'm more than happy to second it, and as Councillor Maynard says, with your eloquence and your knowledge, but I really do think that the material finish to the main roof plane and appearance are not at odds with the traditional character of its surroundings. And Pennon, we all value Pennon as an area, and as do the folk that live there, and the folk that live there are happy with that building, and I'm happy with the way that that roof is. I'm happy to second any motion you put forward, Councillor Cassie, because I'm sure you put it a lot better than I do.
Okay, I see no further indications, therefore I will now ask for a motion. Councillor Cassie.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I would like to move that this application be granted, delegated to the planning people for the approval of what is in place, on the grounds that the materials used and the finishings are in accordance and actually add to the amenity of the conservation area. It adds to the character and the appearance of the whole surrounding area as well. And there's no issues being raised with regards to the residential amenity. In fact, this development, as has taken place, only enhances that amenity within the town, given where the building was prior to the works taking place. So I would move that it is approved and that it does comply with policies P1, P3, HE1, HE2 and National Planning Framework for policies 14 and 7 and 16. And I would seek a seconder if the monitoring solicitor is happy with those wordings.
Thank you. Maura has just agreed that she is happy with those wordings. Mr. Martin.
Yes, Chair, if the monitoring solicitor is happy with that, I'm happy to go along with that too. Just a final point of note, Chair, if I may, just to remind committee that although it might be minded to support the current application, there was still the listed building consent, which was refused under delegated powers, as I highlighted in my presentation earlier. That is still the case. And in terms of enforcement, members did ask a question about that at the last committee. And enforcement colleagues got back to us. And what is likely to happen here is that they would serve a listed buildings repairs notice to restore the original roof however, to highlight to committee that the applicants will get the opportunity to appeal that decision and thus to quash any enforcement action which may ensue from that. Thank you.
Just a quick comeback on that, if I may, Jim. HE1 protecting listed buildings. We've been asked to look on that as well. I appreciate the delegated thing has happened, but HE1 is mentioned within here, and I say it does comply with HE1. So are there two separate applications for this?
Yes, Chair, and again, as highlighted in my report, there were two separate applications as required by statute. The first was in terms of the building's listed status, specifically that, which requires, as members I'm sure are aware, an application for listed building consent, whether that be upfront or whether it be retrospective. Because the property is also or lies within a conservation area, then an application for full planning permission for exterior works is also required. Again, be that upfront or be that in retrospective. So the current application is, of course, for the full planning permission element of that due to the conservation area location. Hope that clarifies things, Chair.
Thank you, Jim. I'll stick with the wording of my motion, and I seek a seconder. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Findlay.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair, and I second Councillor Cassie's motion, but I will add with the points that Jim has been making there with it. And this is for outside this meeting. We do have to look at through procedures the decision made in 2023 because it's caused us problems with the Banff and Buchan Area Committee having these two different applications, a listing application and this one, and there are odds, and it doesn't seem to have worked well. And you know, yes, the agreement was to delegate it to officers, but maybe use this as an example in the future. That's for outside this meeting, but I'm happy to second Councillor Cassie's motion.
Thank you. Can I ask if there is an amendment, please? I see no amendment, therefore the decision of the committee on APP 2025-1998 and 47 Shore Street, Pennant, is to grant this application and delegate to the head of planning and economy, but also noting that the refusal for listed building consent and the enforcement action stands. Thank you very much. We will take a short break until 10:45. Committee, if we'd just like to pause the recording and the speaking, please. Thank you.